Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Have a Pint. Today we have Bozo Beer from EvilTwin Brewing. It is an American Imperial Stout, 17.2% alcohol by volume, 60 IBUs, and it gets an average rating of 4.2. The description on Untappd reads, Imperial Stout brewed with molasses, lactose, chocolate, almond, hazelnut, vanilla bean, cinnamon, oak spiral, chili, marshmallow, muscovado sugar, chestnut, and coffee. Last time I went and got beer, usually they have things behind the counter. And I asked them what they had back there, and they showed me a few things. They were all IPA related, except for this one. I was like, yeah, let's go with it. Big ass Imperial Stout. I've been wanting one for a while. I always say that if it's been 2 weeks without a big ass Imperial Stout, I always say that. It was $8 for the can. Let's see if that was worth it. I can do a hard pour on this some bitch. Guarantee on that. It actually has quite a bit of head for being a 17% beer. I'm impressed by that. I'm going to set it down though. Feeling lazy right now. Hi, Luna. Hi, Lulu. Okay. That's what we're going to do for now. So we got a little bit over a finger's worth of head. It's very dark on the head. Wow. I think it's just the coffee I'm getting out of it so far. I mean, it kind of has that coffee smell, but it has that smell that a big beer always had. I think that's the molasses, actually. I'm getting the molasses. That's mostly what I'm getting, is that sickeningly sweet molasses. That is the dominant part of the head. I didn't show you guys the can too well. I don't love the can, but it's not boring. Alright. And once again, I absolutely love that it's actually a pint. That just has that smell of a big-ass beer. Hi, Tiffany. What in the hell was that? I've never seen her eyes so wide, and I've never seen her mouth so wide. Now she's rubbing it against my stack of books, which is my goal for reading this year. I'm way behind. I want to at least do a book a month, and I am way behind that. I've read like 5 books in 7 months. I've spent a lot of time not reading, though, too. Yeah, it just has that smell of a big-ass beer. But not minus the alcohol. You can't smell that it's got alcohol, just that it's a big-ass beer. And, yeah, you're not going to see anything through that. Molasses comes in on the end. I can definitely tell you that. It is a big, bold bodied beer. Right up front, you get the lactose. This is actually an incredibly well blended beer. You absolutely get no alcohol content, or not content, but alcohol burn from this. For 17%, that's incredible. Sorry, I rewatched a video recently and I realized I can't do that. But I get the molasses and chocolate right on the front of the tongue. And I think the marshmallow, too, is all the way through as well. But it shines through a little bit more in the middle. like the molasses and lactose, or molasses and chocolate, die down a little bit in the middle, and I kind of get that muscovado sugar and marshmallow in the middle. Not really getting any of the, any of the nuts, almond, hazelnut, or chestnut. I'm not really getting any of them. Slight heat from the chili on the back end. Trying to see if the lactose comes in before the very end. Now the lactose is just on the end. But I love that afterwards you're still getting the molasses and you're still getting that lactose and a little bit of chocolate. Like, some of those other things flare up during it. And I think the vanilla bean I get on the middle as well. But I'm not getting any of the nuts or the oak. And there's that slight chili heat at the tail end that keep my hands off there so I don't do that. Yeah, there's a slight chili heat on the end, which it's not overpowering. It complements the beer. Like, there's so much going on here. There's so much different sweetness going on, and a slight bitterness from coffee, and I still can't tell when that's coming in. But there's the little bit of chili heat on the end. I think the coffee comes in right away as well, but it's very subtle and hard to pick out. I actually love beer where there's so much going on that you're going to have it over and over to be able to figure out exactly when everything comes in and to be able to pick out everything. And see, to me, that only really happens when you have a big imperial stout. There's a reason why it is one of my favorite styles. You know, it's up there with sours. There's another one that I love too that I can't think of, but imperial stout sours are two solid ones for me. I even love regular stouts a lot too. But something like this where, you know, it's going to take the whole can for me to try and pick out all of it, or maybe even more than that. Oh yeah, that chili heat is on the back end. It hit the roof of my mouth going down. And that's what I caught up there, was that chili heat. So that's definitely on the back end. Are we sure this only gets a 4.2 out of here? I am curious. I never use Beer Advocate anymore because I feel like it's clunky. I can't search something apparently, but I don't think I can without being logged in, and I don't remember my login. Let's look at Rate Beer. I like Rate Beer a lot better, but I don't really use it. It gets a 3.85 on there. 87 in style, but 99 overall. Okay. Is that about the same as Untapped? 4.2 on Untapped, 4.24 on Beer Advocate. Oh, I haven't used them in a while. They got rid of the Bros ratings on beers. Most of the time it gets rated 4.25, a count of 117 apparently. 4.5 gets 54 rating. 54 people rated that. 73 people rated it 4. I don't like that. I feel like they're a clunky website. And vastly out of date. Actually, when I first got into beer, I kept contemplating getting their subscription to their magazine. Kind of glad I never did. I even used them way later than I wanted to, just because I had been established on there. But I was just like, fuck it, I gotta go over to Untapped because it's so much less clunky. It's absolutely incredible. It's very much molasses, lactose, and chocolate forward. Most of the rest of the stuff is there. But those are the dominant three. What, Puff? Huh? What? Oh my goodness, you want pets? Pets right now? You actually want to be pet? Oh, she's loving it. What? Arya, you don't get all of them. She doesn't ever want them. Sorry. Tiffany never likes to be touched. She's been that way since she was a kitten. Assumedly, I wasn't around her when she was a kitten. But she has been that way the year and a half I've known her. A little over a year and a half, but... He loves to sleep upside down. This is going to definitely be a big sipper. I'm going to be sipping on this for a long time. But, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like with a beer like this, that's really big. We don't necessarily need a story or anything. I don't know if... I have to work the next 5 days, and then my vacation starts, and that's when my goal is to start putting videos up, but I don't know if I can make it that long. Honestly, it might start today, because I have so many ideas, but I want anybody who watches these to tell me, hey, I like this, or I don't like this idea. You know, because I don't want to end up doing something that none of you are going to like. And, like, I did read one of my stories, one of my shorts, and I feel like it's, you know, it was a fairly quick one, but it was also one I have entered it in competitions, that I did do in a class and everything. But at the same time, I don't really want to do that if nobody's going to want to listen to it. Maybe my writing's shitty, I don't know. It's not what I've been told. I mean, here's the thing. Even the biggest writers, maybe except for Stephen King, because he turns out a book every, 4 to 6 months. Even the biggest writers, you know, when they write a book, what they write originally is not what you end up seeing. You know, everybody knows that, but I don't think you realize how big of a difference it is. Like, even they need edited. J.K. Rowling's not actually that great of a writer. You even see that in the Harry Potter series. She had a brilliant story with brilliant characters, and she did execute it well to an extent. There wasn't enough world building in her Harry Potter series. There wasn't. It wasn't as vivid as it could have been. At times it was clunky, and sometimes too big of gaps, if you know what I mean. I mean, obviously, like with the first one and the second one, obviously there were going to be bigger gaps because they're smaller books, and they're taking place over an entire year. Those I can forgive. There was actually still big gaps in later books when they were 800 pages, you know. And actually, they honestly were not long enough to warrant being as big as they were. Like, they're damn near as long page-wise as most of the Song of Ice and Fire books are. But they're maybe half the word count. Then again, it is written for children, so as far as that goes, I can forgive that, too. Actually, there's a lot of misspellings, especially that first book. A lot of misspelled words. Now, granted, the book I'm reading now, Kronos Rising Kraken Volume 2, it has some misspelled words. That's going to happen in pretty much any book. Any book you pick up, you read through, you're going to find some misspelled words. What he has over J.K. Rowling, and don't get me wrong, I love J.K. Rowling as a person and as a writer. But he's more vivid. He's actually got better character development. Like I said, I had to drop the book the other day because of something that happened in chapter 16. And I still got the... Dang, I actually let some spoilers slip. So, in that episode, in the Ziplined Oatmeal Stout episode. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind reading some of my novels to you guys. And actually, funny thing, I'm not quite done with, Zoe the Advent Rises, as you know, because I'm not touting it as being out or anything. But here's the thing. That is, okay, it says 32 drafts, which would be how many different chapters basically there are. It's not quite that many different chapters right now. It might end up being more because I gotta split some up because there's different character point of views, and I have kind of decided that since I was kind of already going for different point of views for every chapter, that I'm gonna have to split chapters up based on that too. A little bit more. But then there's, a section at the bottom for definitions and descriptions of certain scientific things that not everybody's gonna know. There's the acknowledgments, and then the outline, which doesn't even make it on the book. I promise you, outline does not make it in. So it's technically 29 chapters right now, which is kind of short for how long it is. It's sitting right now at roughly 230,000 words. And it could, before editing is done, it could end up between 130 or 235, which would be very short on more editing, and 255. The second book, which I've written about 19 chapters of, that one, I got pretty much the whole series up here. Pretty much, the further it goes, the more it's just the bigger parts of it. But I have most of the chapters written down in here. let's see, there's series details and chapter details at the end after everything else. So that would make it currently 68 chapters. I think it's going to be longer. Be longer. So I'm expecting that son of a bitch to be like 300,000 words. And here's the thing, I'm not huge in fantasy, but like I love Lord of the Rings. I love A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm going to read The Elven. I touched the wrong one for that, but what I absolutely love is sci-fi. Actually, you look at my bookshelf over here. That level is all sci-fi, right? Yeah, that's all sci-fi. That shelf's all sci-fi. That shelf's all sci-fi. That one is old classic books. Like, there is all 15 books of The Wizard of Oz up there. The Vampire Chronicles, like Interview with a Vampire, that trilogy. There's Origin of Species, Moby Dick, Atticus Finch. What is that book? To Kill a Mockingbird. Lord of the Rings is up there, but it's in my read list, so the next book is. The Cerulean, which is part of that series. I consider it a classic because anything written for that is classic for that universe. The Hobbit's up there. Jurassic Park and The Lost World are both up there, which I could read them again. I don't usually go back and read books too often. Usually it's Harry Potter, or it's those. So, in case you were thinking I was being too critical, 9 times out of 10, if I tell you I've read a book, it's been once. Harry Potter, I've read the first one probably 10 plus times. The last one, because every time a book came out, I reread the series up to then. Last one I've probably read 5 or 6 times. There is Grim Tales up there. There's Dracula. There's Tom Sawyer. Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. Classics. All good books, though. But yeah, actually, the one that you cannot see, the next one down, is fantasy, and so is the bottom. It's fantasy. Which... I do have a slight gripe. I love her to death as an author. And I haven't read this one yet. But Jenna Moreci, like, Eve the Awakening is listed under sci-fi. Reading it, I feel it's more fantasy. Hey, little sweetie. Not that it's not incredible. Sweet baby. It is. It's incredible. But it's not fantasy. When you're talking about like chimeras and other fantasy type creatures, you're talking a fantasy novel. Everywhere I've seen it's listed under sci-fi, though. I could be wrong, but I have it down on the bottom because I organize by author, and it just so happens pretty much everything I have is before M. They want to eat. That's basically what it is. They're still technically an hour out. Excuse me. But yeah. So I don't know. I think it's going to happen before this coming weekend. Anyway, there is no doubt, even for $8 for this can, $8 just for this, you can buy a 6-pack for that price. I would buy this again. And actually, if I actually had disposable income, maybe not today, but tomorrow after I got off work, I would drive out and get another one of these. I would. Because now I am incredibly sad I do not have the ability to drink this again after this. Even for $8. That's if I had disposable income, but I do not. It gets a 4.2 on Untapped, which is about what it gets on Beer Advocates apparently, and Rate Beer gives it a 3.7 or something, which is incredibly low. I absolutely love it. It's a dangerous beer. Honestly, I'm going to say 5. It is a dangerous beer. You know, with something like this, you do not want to taste the alcohol. There's a lot of beers where you don't want to taste the alcohol. It could be big, 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 big. It's not what you're supposed to taste. The alcohol is not what you're supposed to taste, but you end up tasting it. You know, if you're touting that it's a bourbon barrel aged, yes, you're going to want that heat from the alcohol. And thinking about that, the heat I was tasting maybe from the alcohol, but it tasted more like a chili heat. So, but to an extent, heat is heat. There is difference, but to an extent, heat is heat. Yeah, you do not get that out of this beer. And there's beers half as big as this where you're not supposed to get heat out of it, yet you do. Clearly, they put a lot into this beer. You know, a big part of that is the lactose and molasses. Just adding sickeningly sweetness to it. And I say sickeningly because there are beers that are sickeningly sweet, but sometimes you have to add that much because otherwise it's going to be overpowering in a different direction. They add that for balance in this beer. And unless it's something you're supposed to taste heat out of, you shouldn't taste heat, and you don't. And so it gets a big thumbs up for me, a big one. I absolutely love EvilTwin. What have I had from them? I think it is just their Even More Jesus. I haven't had Imperial Biscuit Break, but I would love to. Yeah. I can honestly see why they're not huge, because everything they brew is big. Like, their biggest beer, their most commonly rated beer, Imperial Biscuit Break, 11.5%. Even More Jesus is a beautiful Imperial Stout that I rated on this channel. If it's up already or not, I don't know. I've got like 20 videos, which is what I originally wanted, and then start uploading, but which is probably what it's going to end up being. I love EvilTwin, and it's for a reason. But again, everything I've had from them is a style I love. I've had 2 beers. They're both Imperial Stouts, and I love that. They seem to be big on their Imperial Stouts. So I love them. So now EvilTwin is one of my favorite so when I was doing the first video that goes up on this channel, kind of just include them in the my favorite for national brands that are furthest away from me. With that said, I'd almost want to go. It was New York, right? Brooklyn, yeah, I would almost want to go to Brooklyn just for them, although there's other breweries I'd like to. We don't get Brooklyn Brewing here. I'd love to go there just because I hear a lot about them. Anyways, yes, I would get this again, no doubt, even this year. If I had the money, I would go out and buy it right now. I mean, I'd do it after work tomorrow, but I'd buy it. I'll give it a 5. That is it for today's episode. this episode. Until next time, Prost.